Right now at 6, conviction vacated.
There was total misjustice, and so they ruled 100% in Ryan's favor.
After trial and appeals and nearly 10 years in jail, Ryan Ferguson could soon be free. Team coverage with reaction from the community.
The evidence was just so flawed.
And his dad, who says a new battle has begun.
He knows he's got another second half to go.
KOMU 8 News at 6 starts now.
KOMU 8 News at 6 starts with breaking news.
A huge day in the long-running story of Ryan Ferguson. Good evening, I'm Brittany Pieper.
And I'm Jim Rake. Thanks for joining us. The Missouri Western District Court of Appeals ordered Ferguson's conviction to be vacated.
This means he could be released from prison in 2 weeks.
If the state does not refile charges.
We have team coverage on the big decision tonight. We'll hear from those close to the victim, Kent Heitholt, and other reaction from the community. But first, we start with KOMU 8's Eric Hilt, who was at that news conference that just wrapped up in the last few minutes. Eric, what was the reaction there?
Now, the atmosphere in the room during that news conference was pretty emotional. Ryan's family and friends and his attorney were all in there, and they all sounded very excited about today's decision. I got a chance to speak with Ryan Ferguson's father, Bill Ferguson, earlier this afternoon in a one-on-one interview. He told me that he and Ryan are both very excited about today's decision and are looking forward to the next step in his case.
Hey, Ryan.
After 8 years, hope for Bill Ferguson. The Missouri Western District Court of Appeals overturns Ryan Ferguson's conviction, saying, quote, the state failed to disclose favorable evidence, meaning prosecutors did not reveal evidence it held that could have helped the defense.
We were just elated.
But the Fergusons haven't gotten carried away.
He knows he's got another second half to go, and that's fighting the state, trying to overturn today's decision.
Now the state has 15 days to refile charges against Ferguson. If prosecutors choose not to seek a new trial, Ferguson will be a free man. And Bill Ferguson is already planning what the two will do if and when that happens.
We've been playing basketball since he was 10 years old. We averaged playing basketball once a week until he was arrested. Even though I might be a little older than the average basketball player, we're looking forward to it.
Ryan Ferguson's lawyer, Kathleen Zellner, really led that news conference in there. She started off the conference by showing a letter that Ryan had given her that thanked his supporters for everything they've done over the last 5 years. She also went on to agree with what Bill Ferguson had told me earlier today, that the fight isn't over yet. Take a look.
We'll never stop fighting for him, and that we're going to walk out the door of that prison with him, and we're going to do it sooner rather than later. And our goal is to have him sitting at the Thanksgiving table with these three people.
I talked with Judge Kevin Crane earlier today. He was the original prosecutor in the Ferguson case, and he told me that he didn't want to comment on this case because he's now a judge and he thought it was against his judicial ethics. I also talked to current prosecuting attorney Dan Knight. He also refused to comment. He said he wants to talk with Missouri Attorney General Chris Koster before he talks with the media about what he plans to do in this case. Reporting live in Columbia, Eric Hilt, KOMU 8 News.
We continue team coverage with reaction from the community. KOMU 8's Nicole Niederberg spoke to Columbia residents, but first we go to Natalie Granda live outside the Columbia Tribune with reaction from those who worked with Kent Heitholt.
We've heard and seen a lot of support for people in support of freeing Ryan Ferguson, but I spoke to those today who were more shocked than surprised. Were more shocked than excited, I mean. I spoke with Columbia Tribune sports editor Joe Walljasper, who worked with Heitholt for close to 5 years, and he said the initial feeling in the Tribune today was more surprised and shocked than excited. And while Walljasper says he doesn't know what should happen with the Ferguson trial, he says that they need to consider the family.
Keep in mind, keep in mind him, keep in mind his family, because those are the people that are probably suffering the worst today. That they're something that maybe they thought was over or hoped was over, still is not over.
Walljasper says, quote, he was one of the nicest people he's ever met and says he always made coming into work a good time. Reporting live in Columbia, Natalie Granda, KOMU 8 News.
We also reached out to the community to find out what's being said. KOMU 8's Nicole Niederberg went downtown to get a reaction of today's decision.
Most of the people we talked to about the case hadn't heard about it or didn't know enough details to have an opinion on the case. A few said they weren't comfortable going on camera with their opinions since it is such a controversial case. But some say today's decision was the right one.
From the information that I've seen and the research that I did, I think that it was at least not enough evidence to convict him.
And there were so many questions. And I watched this family come together and fight like no one I've ever seen, and never give up, and totally believed.
Cooksky says she knew about the case because she did a research paper on it in college. Sterling works with Ferguson's father and says she's followed the case. Both of them agreed there was never enough evidence to convict Ferguson in the first place.
People from all over the country are sounding off on today's decision. KOMU 8's Nick Thompson took a look at what people are saying on Facebook and Twitter. He continues our team coverage with a breakdown of some of those comments. Nick?
Most of the feedback today was joyous, as many Mid-Missourians believe Ferguson should be a free man. Many said our justice system failed in convicting Ferguson and were excited he has a chance to leave prison. And it was not as popular of an opinion, but some told us on social media Ferguson should stay in prison. And while we aren't really sure if he really spent time behind bars with Ferguson, Ricky Davis Jr. said on Facebook, "I did time with Ryan when this all first went down. Sitting there talking to him face to face, I knew he was innocent. He has been done wrong for many years." Laura Simcoe praised the appeal on Facebook. She wrote, "Overjoyed Ryan will soon be free. Even if there is another trial, there is still no evidence he is guilty. No more orange for Ryan, praying he will live a wonderful life and walk in freedom surrounded by love." Tara Wren Blue says it's possible someone coerced Jerry Trump and Chuck Erickson into recanting their testimony. She wrote on Facebook, "And suddenly both witnesses say they lied. Sounds like someone was paid off to me."
Let's take a look back at the key points of the Ferguson case. In 2001, police say Columbia Tribune sports writer Kent Heitholt was murdered in the newspaper's parking lot. In 2005, a judge sentenced Ferguson to 40 years in prison for second-degree murder and first-degree robbery. In 2010, the Court of Appeals said the contradictions in the case gave them pause, but they didn't make a decision and handed the appeal to a lower court. In 2012, after more than 6 months of deliberation from the lower court, judges denied Ferguson a retrial. In January of this year, Ferguson's attorney requested another habeas corpus, and judges accepted it, getting us to where we are today. Meanwhile, the two main witnesses admitted to lying under oath. So we go back again. In 2006, Charles Erickson, who accepted a plea deal for admitting he and Ferguson committed the crime, said he lied. He then admitted he was blacked out the night of the murder under the influence of alcohol and drugs. Then in 2012, the second key witness, Tribune janitor James Trump, also recanted his statement, saying he didn't actually see Ferguson the night of the murder.
Today, the Missouri Western District Court of Appeals vacated that 2005 conviction. It says the state violated Brady v. Maryland when it withheld an interview with a witness's wife, Barbara Trump. This means the state has 15 days to decide whether or not it will refile charges against Ferguson. If you would like more information about the case, you can head to our website, KOMU.com. There you can find the full 54-page decision that was filed today, the full interview with Ryan Ferguson's father, and all of the previous KOMU 8 news stories related to this case. Switching gears now, veterans in Columbia must wait longer than those in other parts of the country. That's what a new report from USA Today says, at least. It says more than half of veterans seeking mental health care at Truman VA Hospital have waited more than 2 weeks. That's the goal set by the VA. At the VA hospital in Columbia this year, there were more than 3,000 appointments made, and more than half couldn't see a doctor within 2 weeks. KOMU 8's Christina Alexander has the Harry S. Truman VA Hospital and a veteran's response to the investigation.
I spoke to the VA spokesperson here at Truman Hospital who says the numbers are a recording error. He says the hospital works on a triage system which takes patients with the most serious mental cases first. But one veteran I spoke to today says he has had trouble with scheduling appointments. The hospital is working on a report because of the recording error, but does not know when it will come out. The Columbia vet also told me that the thing that he had most trouble with was scheduling his appointments prior to his diagnosis of PTSD. Reporting live in Columbia, Christina Alexander, KOMU 8 News.
Columbia police say the man responsible for sexual misconduct at a Columbia park has now turned himself in. Police say 26-year-old Brookfield resident Michael Sada turned himself in around 10 last night. He was arrested for felony sexual misconduct involving a child for his role in this September 10th sexual misconduct incident at Bethel Park. The department says Sada became a suspect after he was arrested on October 21st because he exposed himself to others inside a business.
Polls opened around Columbia this morning to low voter turnout. The only issue on the ballot is a $32 million sewer bond. The Boone County Government Building polling site didn't host many voters during the morning hours. The proposed bond would go to improving 675 miles of sewer lines. If the bond passes, utility rates would increase over a 5-year span, leading to an average of about $3 a month. If the bond does not pass, rates would go up 38% in 2015. The polls close in about 45 minutes. Stay with us. Weather is next.